How powerful is Ultra Vegito? This is a version of Vegito from an alternate timeline different from Dragon Ball Super, where Goku and Vegeta decide to challenge Beerus to test their strength against the most powerful god of destruction of all. However, after a series of extremely unfortunate events, they end up erasing the god of destruction from existence. And that's where this story truly begins, so let's get right into it. As I mentioned before, this version of Vegito is powerful enough to defeat Beerus almost effortlessly. Because of that, his power level at the start of the story is already insanely high. Even so, he would still lose against the other 11 gods of destruction. So, at the beginning of the story, this Vegito would still be leagues behind something like a universal Super Saiyan Blue or even a Super Saiyan 6. But keep in mind, this is just the beginning. Imagine how strong Ultra Vegito becomes by the end of the manga. Moving forward with the story of the God Killer, Vegito is imprisoned by the Grand Priest due to the grave sin of eliminating a god. Fortunately, 10 years later, he's freed by Whis, who sacrifices himself in order to release him. And that's where Vegito's journey truly begins, his path of vengeance against the gods who took everything from him. At this point, Vegito receives his first major power boost. He's granted an angelic staff, along with a portion of Whis' power and essence, allowing him to properly wield it. This staff gives Vegito some absolutely broken abilities. He can now even travel between universes. With this boost, Vegito proves to be powerful enough to defeat an angel and their god of destruction with little to no effort. Although it's worth mentioning that in this fanfic, the angels seem heavily nerfed, or at least that's the impression I get. Still, credit where credit is due, I'd say Vegito God Killer surpasses a Super Saiyan 7 by a large margin, placing him somewhere around or slightly below a Super Saiyan 8 level, but still far from a Super Saiyan 9. Vegito has shown enough power to take down multiple angels at once without much trouble, yet he still remains far below the Grand Priest. And as you already know, in my scaling, the Grand Priest is below a Super Saiyan 9. Now remember, this is just my opinion. I know other Dragon Ball AF YouTubers would scale him at full Super Saiyan 9 level, but I personally don't see it that way. With that clarified, let's move on to Vegito's next power boost. After fighting Rumshi and his angel, Vegito uses the time rings he stole from Gowasu to travel to an alternate timeline. There, he encounters the warriors from Dragon Ball GT, and at their request, Vegito decides to train them inside the hyperbolic time chamber. A full year passes, during which not only do the GT warriors grow stronger, but Vegito himself also improves, although for obvious reasons, his power increase is minimal. After this, Vegito continues his path of vengeance, this time targeting the god of destruction known as Sidra. And this is where Vegito pulls off an absolutely insane feat. During this battle, he not only proves capable of defeating Sidra and his angel, but Ultra Vegito also fights two angels at the same time. And if that wasn't enough, one of them is Kusu, the older sister of all angels, and therefore the most powerful among them. Now keep in mind, everyone here is still far below the Grand Priest. Even so, the fact that Vegito can go head-to-head with both of them at the same time and actually defeat them already says a lot about his power. But as expected, after that fight, Vegito ends up severely injured, forcing him to escape to another alternate timeline to recover. And this is where things get crazy. Vegito ends up encountering Dr. Gero. Yes, Ultra Vegito travels back to the Cell Saga, specifically right around the awakening of androids 17 and 18. After a long negotiation, Vegito and Gero strike a deal.
Gero reconstructs a large portion of Vegito's body, turning him into a half-android. This grants him the ability to drain energy from his opponents and even absorb their power and life force, thanks to a tail very similar to Cell's. Honestly, I don't think this boosts Vegito's raw power that much. Instead, what he really gains here are insanely broken abilities. After this, Vegito goes through multiple battles, each one harder than the last. He fights a version of Jiren who has fully mastered Ultra Instinct, as well as Belmod and his angel, Margarita. At another point, he faces an Ultra Gogeta from Dragon Ball GT. And as you might expect, this Gogeta is ridiculously powerful. GT base forms are already stronger than usual, so imagine characters like that reaching Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct while also being trained by Whis and Beerus. This is where Vegito Godkiller finally meets someone on his level. And in response, Vegito unveils a brand new transformation, completely overwhelming Ultra Gogeta. Not only that, but we also see a new ability. Vegito can now summon all the opponents he has defeated, like shadows or spirits under his control. At this point, it's basically like Vegito commands an entire army of gods of destruction and their angels. As you can tell, Vegito's power at this stage is absolutely insane. I'd confidently place him around a Super Saiyan 8 level here. Now, a lot of people might be wondering, what's the multiplier of this new transformation? Well, we actually get an answer during his fight against Hit. Hit uses a technique that slows his opponent down by 500 times. Because of this, Vegito is forced to use his strongest transformation at that point, boosting his power by 1,000 times. That allows him to completely overcome Hit's technique. So yes, we can say this form has a 1000x multiplier over his Ultra state, which combines Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. After that, Vegito faces even more interesting opponents. He fights a Super Saiyan 5, a Beast Mode Kabi, and a Super Saiyan 3 Kefla. But let's focus on the Super Saiyan 5. This is the King of Sadada from Universe 6. Apparently, he can't access Super Saiyan 5 on his own. He only reaches it by receiving power from Beast Kabi and Super Saiyan 3 Kefla. So technically, this is a boosted Super Saiyan 5. Even then, he's not even close to being a match for Ultra Vegito. Vegito defeats him with basically no effort. And honestly, it doesn't need much explanation. We're talking about a fighter around Super Saiyan 5 level going up against someone far beyond Super Saiyan 7. The gap is just massive. That said, the King of Sadala is still insanely powerful. With the added power from Beast Kabi and Super Saiyan 3 Kefla, I'd say his Super Saiyan 5 surpasses the current levels of Goku and Vegeta. I'd even place him slightly above a god of destruction. So overall, I'd rank Sadala's Super Saiyan 5 around the level of Goku AF Super Saiyan 5 from the Takama saga. Now after all these battles, a new enemy appears, Goku Black with Ultra Instinct. And Vegito.
As soon as they sense each other's presence, after a brief clash, they decide to team up. But at the last moment, Vegito betrays Goku Black, forcing him to fuse with him. And just like that, Vegito becomes a fusion of three beings: Ultra Instinct Goku, Ultra Ego Vegeta, and Ultra Instinct Goku Black. For obvious reasons, his power skyrockets to an entirely different level. Now let's move on to the next insane power boost Vegito gets. After witnessing someone very similar to Babidi granting massive power-ups to his controlled warriors through a mark on their foreheads, very similar to the Majin mark, Vegito decides to recreate that same effect. So he travels to the Majin Buu saga and seeks out Babidi to carry out his new plan. The plan? Allow a large portion of his own power to be absorbed so that when Majin Buu is born, he becomes stronger than ever. And when that finally happens, it triggers a battle unlike anything we've seen before. Even Vegito himself states that this would be his toughest fight up to that point, since this new Majin Buu possessed his own power, meaning they should be evenly matched. And he was right. This version of Majin Buu is even capable of using Ultra Instinct with mastery. Because of this, Vegito is forced to use his strongest transformation, completely overwhelming Majin Buu. But just as he's about to absorb him, one of the 5 most powerful warriors appears, sent by the Grand Priest. And even with his strongest transformation and the Majin mark active, Vegito is completely outclassed. The warrior even acknowledges him, saying that before Vegito, only one other being had ever required his presence, a being known as Lucif. Pay close attention to that name because it will be very important later in the story of Vegito Godkiller. But continuing with the video, as Majin Buu sees Vegito on the verge of death, he takes advantage of the moment and absorbs him, aiming to end everything once and for all. And he succeeds. Majin Buu fully assimilates Vegito, becoming absurdly powerful. However, thanks to Vegito's overwhelming will and determination, he awakens from within and takes back control of the body. But now, he has become something else entirely, a Majin. By taking control of Majin Buu's body, Vegito has crossed a line he can't undo. The battle resumes, but now Vegito is so powerful that he can stop all of his opponent's attacks with a single finger. And remember, this opponent is one of the 5 strongest warriors. Now, even though he's considered the weakest among those 5, there's a reason for that. We're told that his sword contained a demon, and since Vegito is now a Majin, the sword's effects no longer work on him. Taking advantage of this, Vegito absorbs his power as well, gaining yet another massive boost. If I missed any power-ups up to this point, let me know in the comments, and I apologize in advance. Now let's break down what happened here. When Vegito takes over Majin Buu's body, I'd say his power at most doubles, since Buu was created using Vegito's own power and his Ultra transformation. With this boost, Vegito proves to be superior to the warrior who claimed to be among the top 5. Then, after absorbing that warrior's power, Vegito essentially doubles his strength again. So at this point in the story, Vegito at his peak would have power comparable to around 8 or 9 Super Saiyan 8s combined. In other words, he could defeat base Gogeta AF from the Hell Saga, but he would still lose to that same Gogeta in Super Saiyan, who would scale closer to 100 Super Saiyan 8s. So yeah, at least up to this point in the story, Vegito Godkiller, if he appeared in Dragon Ball AF, would still get completely destroyed by a Super Saiyan 7 Gogeta or a Super Saiyan 5 Zyko, and he's still miles away from Super Saiyan 9 level. And with that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Honestly, I had a lot of fun making it because this version of Vegito has an amazing story. As you probably noticed, I didn't cover the entire story of Ultra Vegito, and that's because it's incredibly long and it's still ongoing. So I ask for a bit of patience. Very soon, I'll bring you another video covering more of Vegito Godkiller's story, and after that, I'll try to wrap everything up in a final 3rd video dedicated to the character. But for that last part, the story needs to be finished, or at least much further along. If you want a continuation of Vegito Godkiller, make sure to drop a like on this video. Let's aim for 1,000 likes to bring the next part. And why not? I'd also love to cover other characters from this story, like Goku Seraphim. And that's it for today. Don't forget to like the video and hype it up. It really helps the algorithm push it to more people. Also, leave a comment. It helps a lot and motivates me to keep creating content. And don't forget to follow me on all my social media. I'm imitablecarp, and I'll see you in the next video.